Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
Week 2 of training camp has begun. The pads are on and football gets so real starting today. It's Merilatt Monday. We got James Merilatt in the building. What is up, my friend?
Rachel, how are you?
Good.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
So excited because it's like, okay, it's not quite real football, but it's the closest thing to real football
Oh, I'm so ready.
we've had in a long, long time. So today is the day to be out at camp. I'm excited to be over there.
You're going for your first time today.
I am. I've, intentionally skipped out on anything that's acclimation. It's like, okay, I don't need to be there for
you're not
that.
missing much.
They don't have pads on. It's like, okay,
Yep.
not going to make it for that. Today it's real. I'll be there.
Okay. Besides quarterbacks, number one name that you are like, I'm going to be eyes on this guy.
Ooh, I'm really curious to watch the wide receivers as a group.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is Cortland Sutton still clearly the number one? Josh Reynolds is I think he's one of the bigger additions in the offseason that gets no attention.
Yeah.
Like, Jerry Jeudy's out. Josh Reynolds is coming in. Who's going to be the number one wideout? So, like, I'm curious about that. Where does Marvin Mims work into things? There's a couple rookie receivers.
Yep.
Franklin that's going to be fun to watch. So I'll be looking at that room. Cecil Lammey tells me I should be watching Lucas Kroll. He's the best player on the team. So I think I'll be checking that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just for me, the biggest question mark, and there's a lot of them with this team. The biggest question mark is who's going to make some plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be watching the offense. I'll be watching the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs. Who looks like they've got some playmaking ability? That's what I want to see.
Okay, so 3 things on that. You just named off a whole bunch. So I'm trying to keep track in my mind. I'm like, okay, I got this. Michael Bandy. He's making moves left and right.
Okay.
So you're probably going to see him. Troy Franklin, he gets yelled at almost every single play. Poor
Which
kid.
is a good sign.
It's
actually a really good sign.
That means they're paying attention to you.
Yeah.
So that's always funny. You're like, oh, there goes Troy Franklin again. He's getting yelled at. Josh Reynolds. He is obviously known in Detroit for dropping balls a lot.
Yeah.
Not a single dropped ball so far in practice that we've seen. Of course, media not 100% there for everything, but he's looked really solid. And I think it's actually going to be an interesting competition between him and Cortland Sutton.
Is it a Bo day or a Jarrett day today?
It'll be a Jared.
I thought I read it was Bo.
It should be Bo because Jared was on Saturday and Zach was on
Friday. Zach was okay.
Yeah, did you hear Cecil Lammey bought me a taco, or he has to buy me tacos?
Why?
Because we made a bet of who would start on Friday in front of the fans. And I said Zach Wilson.
There you go. Kept with the rotation.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see, hey, does Bo Nix have a rapport starting to develop with any of these guys? Just kind of how he carries himself in that position. Listen, he should just be the number one guy. Let's just be done with this quarterback battle.
Totally
a quarterback battle in training camp is a bad thing anyway.
Yep.
It means you're a team that is, going to be at the bottom of the league. For the most part, typically speaking.
Yes.
A 3-person quarterback battle?
Yep.
Find me an example ever where that worked.
Well, and I think Sean Payton knows that. I think after this week, it's going to get cut down to 2.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I just don't know why we're still doing it. Like, it makes no sense. Like, going through, and you and I talked about this on the radio last week during Denver Sports Tonight. Going through mini camp and everything, it's like, okay, this is kind of silly. You're wasting reps.
Yep.
And with every passing day, every passing week in training camp, it gets more and more frustrating.
Oh.
I think you start getting to preseason games where, okay, one guy gets the ones with one game, and then the other guy gets now you're wasting game reps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whether you're going short term or long term, right? If you're looking at it long term, big picture, it should just be Bo Nix. He's the quarterback of the future. Let's just get on with the future.
Yep.
If you're going short term, if you're going to Fangio this thing, right, and you're all about worried about winning in September,
okay,
you're still better off picking a guy and giving that person every number one rep between now and Seattle than you are doing this nonsense. Because whoever you pick is going to have had a third of the reps potentially.
Yep.
That's silly. You could make the complete wrong decision short term, but at least if they get all the reps, they're going to be better prepared for Seattle. So this doesn't make any sense on any front. It's preposterous.
And every single day, it's like, okay, which guy is it going to be? And that's what we've seen the rotation now. We saw it through OTAs. We saw it through mini camp. We've seen it through the first week of practice. Now it's going to be like when Sean Payton makes the move, we're going to know, right? It's going to be like, okay, it's supposed to be Zach Wilson today.
Yeah.
If he's all of a sudden not out there and it's Stidham. But I will say, last week in front of the fans, it was Zach Wilson with the ones, but Bo Nix started off the practice throwing to the ones on the field closest to the fans. Like they know, essentially. They're just trying to do their due diligence and making sure everybody feels included.
What is this, the Not Hurt Feelings League?
Yes. Did you not know that?
This is silly.
Actually, really funny. We talked about it on Denver Sports Daily today. The NFL is now going to have both or head coaches in first and second half have to talk in an in-game interview.
Well, good.
No, that's
great.
terrible.
I think it's great.
No.
Why? Give the fans more access.
When do you ever get a good answer out of the coaches?
Well, that's based on the question that they ask.
No, that's not
on
true.
the sideline reporter.
I've heard some good questions, and coaches go, "Well, we'll see what happens."
That's fine.
That's
I want
terrible.
him to have to come across there. You get that. That's where you end up the Michael Malone. Don't call me Mike. That's where you get that when guys are stressed out and ticked. You get some gems every once in a while.
I think it's terrible. I'd rather just mic them up.
Well, that'd be good too.
That'd be great. Could you
imagine?
imagine?
The more access, the better.
I
would watch
interviews.
If there was a channel that all it was you could pick which guy you wanted to listen to mic'd up the entire game with no editing, no bleeps,
That'd
nothing.
Be so fun.
Like the quarterbacks or the head coaches or whatever. I would watch that over the announcers all day long.
Or even like postseason, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you can't give. But if you did postseason when everything probably changes a little bit the next year, I would totally buy it.
Oh man, that would be fantastic.
Could you imagine the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton exchange?
Right. That would be priceless.
So fun.
That would be priceless.
Oh
I'd love to know. Somebody at NFL Films knows what that was.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because they had it mic'd up. They had.
Yeah. How much do we have to pay that guy to spill the beans?
Somebody heard it. Well, it'll never see the light of day. But I would be fascinated by that. So the more access, the better. As far as I'm concerned.
I hate the in-game interviews because I think we never get anything good out of them.
Well, I think that don't hate the game, hate the player.
Oh gosh. Okay. Whatever. Anyways, I'm excited to see Greg Dulcich out there today with pads. How he's moving around, all that kind of jazz, and Javonte Williams especially. Yeah. I know those are two names everybody's like talking about nonstop, but I can't wait to see him with pads.
Well, no, I think those are two good answers, right? Because I want to see what Javonte looks like with pads on now that he's lost that 11 pounds.
Yep.
Does he still look slimmer and quicker and all the rest of that stuff? And then, every time Greg Dulcich passes the test, which for him is just getting on the field, it's a big step in the right direction. Yep. So, let's see him out there in pads today. Honestly, and this is going to sound like I'm being mean or being sarcastic or being a smart aleck. I'm not. If Greg Dulcich can go through a padded practice and not get hurt, that's a big step in the right direction.
Same with Tim Patrick.
Let's see if we can do it. So August is looming. That's for those two guys. That's when IR is looming.
Also, can you believe that it's almost August?
It's amazing how fast it flew by.
Fly by. We have a group chat for work, everybody, and we just got a text in it. John Elway believed his biggest mistake as the Broncos GM was not drafting which player?
Oh, it's got to be Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Has to be.
Came out and said that. Interesting.
I mean, Bradley Chubb's a fine player.
Yeah.
He's one, he's not here anymore.
Yep.
Two, at number 5 overall, you're a miss unless you end up in the Ring of Fame.
I totally agree.
That's just the reality. And he will never be. Obviously, he won't be up there. Josh Allen, if they'd have picked him and developed him right like they did in Buffalo, he would have been.
Do you think they would have developed him right?
I would hope so. I don't know. I mean, it was Gary Kubiak that was the coach at that point. So, right? No, that would have been it would have been VJ's first year.
Yeah,
because Coombs was here with Paxton, but it was the year after.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question, but you can't excuse the miss saying they would have messed it up anyway. Like, and I heard that a lot, and I get that, but no, a guy that's that talented, you would hope coaches would be smart enough to figure out how to make it work with them.
But it also feels like, and don't hate me if you're a Buffalo fan or a Josh Allen fan, it also seems like the talent's there, but the work ethic may not 100% be there.
Oh, I don't know. There's, because we're not out there and we don't see it every single day. It's hard to say one way or another. That could be the case.
Yeah. Heard rumblings.
I do know though that he he totally reworked his entire throwing motion.
Yeah.
And, to improve accuracy and stuff like that. I just think he's a great player. I think he's a great talent. I think he had 15 rushing touchdowns last year.
If he never wins a Super Bowl though.
Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl either. Doesn't mean he's not a great quarterback. So do I think he'll win one? Yeah. I mean, you go back to that playoff game, he and the Bills and the Chiefs, Allen versus Mahomes and back and forth.
So fun.
I mean, he's 13 seconds away from winning the game.
So fun.
And, is that on him? No, he just kept throwing touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. He just ran out of time.
I still think to this day that's the best football game I've ever watched.
It was incredible.
It was so fun.
I would. This past year's Super Bowl was pretty darn good. Almost going in, or did it go into double overtime? Or was it the last play of first overtime that they finally scored? It was right at it, right? It was about to go into a sixth quarter. So but that Bills Chiefs playoff game, it's going to go on the list for sure.
It is. It's probably my favorite.
That guy could be here. How much different would this franchise be if they'd have picked him?
It depends on how they developed him, because by now they would have moved on from him probably if things hadn't developed well. You don't think so?
A lot of it is fit, right? And it's who's the coaching staff, what's the team around you.
I mean, people are already talking about moving on from Bo Nix. Like, that's how fast this franchise is talking about moving on for things.
Well, if they go 3-14 and they have the number 1 overall pick and Shadur Sanders is sitting there, they're going to move on from Bo Nix.
So how's to say that Josh Allen would even be here if they would have?
Yeah, who knows? But I'd like to have seen that alternate universe.
John Elway. What grade do you give him as a GM?
I'd give him an A. He went to 2 Super Bowls. He got Peyton Manning here. They won a championship. That's an A. I don't care what happened in the last 5 years. The first 5 years were so good. He gets an A.
Him landing Peyton Manning definitely gives him a boost for sure.
It's the greatest free agent acquisition of all time.
It was amazing.
I mean, that you did that. You put together a team that had, their 2012 team was probably the best of the bunch.
So fun.
2013, the greatest offense of all time.
Yep.
Manning wins MVP. They go to the Super Bowl. They lose, but they go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
2 years later, they go to the Super Bowl with a completely remade team.
Yep.
They were the greatest offense in football in 2013.
Greatest
By 2015, that's the best defense in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
That's done on Elway's watch. I mean, listen, if somebody said right now, you can have a 5-year run like we had the first 5 years of Elway, and then after that, you're going to have 5 terrible years. Would you take it?
Well, it's the same conversation that people always bring up. They're like, would you rather be in the playoffs every single year but never win the Super Bowl, or like not be a playoff team but win a Super Bowl one of those years? And I'd rather win the Super Bowl.
Of course.
It's like a dumb question to even ask anymore.
Yeah. Would you rather date Kate Beckinsale for a year and then have to be single for a year? Yes. Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Who wouldn't say yes to that proposition?
I'm totally with you. So I always find those conversations fascinating because people are like, well, you would have like 10 good years of happiness. But I'm like, but you never get the end goal.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not shooting for a 7. Yeah. Right. Like in life. Right. Like then you just, no, I'd rather have the extremes.
100%.
Right. Now we've had them
we
here.
are in it.
We've had them and we've had the trough.
Yep.
And I'm about over the trough. I'm well over the trough.
Yes, me too.
But if before Manning signed here, if the deal was you're going to get 4 amazing years, arguably the greatest 4-year stretch in the history of the franchise, but you're going to have 8 terrible years after it, I probably would have signed up for it.
I probably would have too.
Now there's an end game. If it turns into 9 years, 10 years, a dozen years, like, okay, that's too much.
Yeah.
But if it turns around right now, I would have made the deal with the devil for sure.
I'm with you. Okay. So I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up with you. Are you excited to go watch the boring offense today?
You're not gonna get me with it today.
No, you're in too good of a mood.
It better not be boring.
It's kind of boring.
I'm curious. I'm really curious to see what it looks like because everybody keeps telling me, "Oh, he finally gets to run his offense." Okay, let's see what that is. Let's see what this Sean Payton offense is, and which quarterback can execute it best. But no, it'll be fascinating. I'm curious to see what's going on down there today. Look, I want this team to surprise me. I want this team to prove all the doubters wrong. I want the sum to be greater than the parts. And I do think that's the hope is that, on paper, it's not a great roster, but it's a bunch of guys. It's the lunch pail crew. They show up, they're selfless. They do the little things. They do the dirty work that can add up short term into where you overachieve. That's the best hope for this year. So, it's hard to gauge that, but I think I'll get a sense just watching them in person. Like, do they have those attributes? Do they have that personality? I'm as curious to go down there and watch practice as I've been, probably since Manning was here. Russ's first year was pretty big.
Year when he rolled out.
And then I remember writing the story when the offense finally had a good day, like in week 2.
Yeah. And
my lead paragraph was something along the lines of, hey, nobody wants to say it, but Russell Wilson finally had a good day, and just getting ripped of like, oh yeah, sure. We those of us who were down here, we know Russ has looked good. It's like, no, he hasn't.
No,
the offense has looked bad.
Yeah,
and just nobody wanted to say it. Curious to see again with my own eyes, as opposed to well, everybody's telling me this guy looks good and this guy looks bad.
Yep.
There's so much confirmation bias that goes into it because everybody's got their person.
Yeah.
Like I was a Drew Lock guy, so I always saw practice. I thought Drew played better than Teddy.
So who are you rooting for this year?
You got to be rooting for Bo. He's the guy that gives them. Well, listen, Zach Wilson probably has the most upside, believe it or not. We talked on this show before they ever got him that he's a guy he was drafted number 2 overall for a reason.
James, but seeing
he's
him
the
in
most
person,
talented quarterback there.
Seeing him in person is so rough.
And it's the odds of him being the guy. They're not very good.
They're not.
So
good
I think
at all.
if you're a Broncos fan, I think you root for Bo next 1.
Yep.
Big time. I think 2. It's probably Zach Wilson. Like, hey, maybe they find the diamond in the rough here, maybe. And then Jarrett Stidham's got to be 3rd because it's like that's the ultimate. Like you're just gonna have to settle.
Yeah.
The first round pick isn't ready or was a miss.
Yep.
The reclamation project was a miss. So you got this.
You got the backup, the career backup.
That is not the way.
I will say, Jarrett Stidham has so much confidence. He gets up on the podium. He's like cracking jokes. Like he is just confidence.
There's something to be said for being delusional.
I really, my friends, delusional too.
Right?
The most confident person I know, right there. I hope we do get to see some accuracy drills though, because that's been one of the most interesting portions for me. Each practice is when they have to throw into that net.
Yeah.
And you watch some of them completely miss the net, and you're like, "What are we doing here?" But it has been just interesting to see the level of competition in those few minutes.
Yeah.
All 3 of them going back and forth. So I'm excited, hopefully, for that today.
No, it should be good. Listen, the competition, there is a part of it that is good. I do think though, as a football team, you're in your best position if there's not competition, right? We never were like, man, I wish there was somebody down here competing with Vaughn.
Yeah.
Like, nope, he's the starter over there. We're good.
We're solid. We don't have to worry about that.
I wish there was somebody down here competing with Peyton just to push him and make him better.
Yeah.
No, they were good. That's the ultimate. So, I think we're all trying to convince ourselves that competition is good because it sounds right. It's sports. Competition should be better.
Yeah.
No, you're in a much better position if you've got the guy.
Yes.
As opposed to we got 3 quarterbacks and we're seeing who can throw it into a net better. Gosh.
Well, boring and delusional. That's our words of the day. James Merilatt Monday. Thank you guys for hanging with us. Let us know if you are headed out to training camp. It is going to be a ton of fun. If you drive by the denversports.com zone, make sure you honk your horn, say hello to all of the guys out there, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.